if you're not selling people hospital indemnity products and you're not offering cancer, you are, in my view, committing malpractice against every single person who you sell a Medicare Advantage plan to. They need to have something to indemnify them against the high out-of-pocket costs of a hospital stay. Because have you taken a look at what hospital costs are looking like on most Advantage plans right now? Have you taken a look at what maximum out-of-pockets have gone up to in most Advantage plans? I mean, people are going to end up with, $10,000 or $15,000 a year, and God forbid they go into the hospital in December, right? Go into the hospital in December and you stay in the hospital for 3 weeks in December and it rolls over in January and boom, you hit your maximum out of pocket all over again.
So today we're going to talk about actually selling things. We're not just going to hand out products. We're not just going to enroll people. We're going to talk about being a salesperson, because as much as what you do is not exactly that, it's also a little bit of what you do. Nick, why don't you introduce today's topic, since it sounds like one you had requested, and then we'll tackle it together.
But Chris, I don't like selling things. I want to just enroll people in stuff. But am I going to have to do this now that the world is changing? Do I have to sell?
Yeah. Medicare's changing.
Medicare's changing. Medicare's changing. Medicare is changing, and not for everybody, not all the time, not in every state, not in every market, but in many states and in many markets, benefits are going down for Medicare Advantage plans. Prices are going up for Medicare supplement plans and prescription drug plans. Things are getting more expensive and there are less freebies to go around. And so I was talking with the group that I train for Medicare, because I train a group of people to do Medicare sales. And we were talking about going over and comparing ANOX today and like, what plans are changing and like who to target and who to try and rescue and like who's going to not be able to be crosswalked and who you should just allow to get crosswalked. And we were doing all that kind of stuff. And I mentioned before we were going that, Chris and I didn't have a topic for today's recording, and maybe they could toss out some ideas. And one of the ideas was, and I think this is a good one, is like, how does that conversation change? Because for the last 3 or 4 years, the best way to approach somebody who is a Medicare Advantage client, Medicare supplement client's a little bit different, a little bit. But the best way to approach somebody who is a Medicare Advantage client for the last several years has been to hammer in on the areas that really move the needle for people, the sizzle. You're talking your dental benefits, your vision benefits, your give backs, your over-the-counter cards,
OTC.
Right? The food cards, utility cards, getting them qualified for all sorts of things. And for like duals, that's still a thing, but duals are going to get harder to work with as a primary source of business going forward. Maybe you don't want to hang your hat on duals for a variety of reasons starting in 2025. Take them if you got them, but maybe not where you want to focus your energies. The LIS SEP is going away, so that's going to make things really interesting, right?
There's always a disaster. I mean, call me crazy, or call me in a little bubble. Maybe I'm wrong, but I swear to whatever people pray to, there's always a disaster SEP.
I'm not worried about the ability to find an enrollment period. I'm just saying, like, the people who are going to still be getting some of these extra benefits are not always going to be the easiest people to get, find a reason to enroll any longer, right? Fewer 5-star plans, as far as I can tell. We don't know for sure. The star ratings haven't come out, but star ratings went, like, the number of 5-star ratings contracted last year to this year. I expect probably the same, because CMS seemed like they were kind of pissed. So I imagine that star ratings are probably not, there's not going to be a ton of 5-star plans, is my guess. I could be wrong. This is just forecasting. But when you don't have really rich dental benefits, when you don't have $170 give backs, when you don't have $300 a month in over the counter, how do you sell these plans? Like, is it possible? Can anybody possibly sell Medicare Advantage if you don't have free things to give away? Chris, can you sell Medicare Advantage plans if you don't have free things to give away? In Maryland, I know there are so many free things to give away. They're giving away Medicare Advantage plans. How are you doing this in Maryland?
Well, let me tell you an interesting scenario, and it is kind of on topic. I think it is interesting to the 6 people and a dog that watch this. I've run into several Medicare Advantage plans. City of Baltimore retiree Medicare Advantage plans from a big name brand carrier with a $150 a month premium that comes out of their pension. No, it's not the worst plan. There are some copays. There is obviously a network at play here, but a $150 for all intents and purposes Medicare Advantage plan with really nothing sexy about it. Standard health insurance. And
Yeah.
in those scenarios, what I've done, I've run into 3 of them in the last 3 weeks, is pitched meds up. Like I'm warming up, I'm getting a rapport, I'm fact finding, and I just quick run a quote on Toolkit to see how close are they to this price to sup at their age. Usually pretty close. And it requires sales skills to walk through a summary of benefits on their current plan. Thank you for Google to find the plan because it's not
Right.
on Sunfire. To walk through what a Medicare supplement does, and then to ask them for your $150 a month, which do you think would be better health care for you? And it has nothing to do with dental. Well, I mean, like a
Nope.
little bit. Nothing to
Yeah.
do with OTC. It doesn't have any. Neither of them will. It has all to do with salesmanship and an explanation of a logical comparison. That's selling.
Yeah. The reality is what we are actually doing is selling health insurance. It's actually health insurance. The most important part of the Medicare plan should be the healthcare that you're getting.
Mhm.
It should be your ability to see a doctor without it bankrupting you. It should be your maximum out of pocket cost. I can tell you, and I don't think it's a national plan, but like I sold a Humana PFFS plan the other day
Hmm.
to a long-term Medicare supplement client because I started selling med subs. I've been selling med subs for a decade at this point. I have a med sup client who's had their med sup with me since 2015, and his health has changed. He can no longer move out of the plan that he's in, but his plan rates went up. And he's paying like $370 a month for his med sup. And it's a med sup. It's good. It's good coverage. He likes it, but he realistically cannot continue to afford it. Where I am, Humana's got a PFFS plan, and it is in many states, not every state, but in many states, or they have an equivalent. It's got a $1,500 maximum out of pocket and zero
Mhm.
copay for hospitals, zero copay for specialists, zero copay for primary care doctors. Some copays if you're getting an MRI, copays if you're having surgery, you're going to have copays. The average copay is about $150. There are some copays that are like $45 for things like labs, so it's not free when you're getting regular stuff done, but it's a $1,500 MOOP. It's $40 a month instead of 370 something dollars a month. He's saving a whole bunch of money, and he like we went through it. We went through Medicare Advantage plans, other Medicare Advantage plans with givebacks and things like that. And you're like, Nick, I don't know why I wouldn't do this Humana PFFS plan. And it's private fee for service. There's no network, right? Doesn't guarantee that doctors will take it, but there's no network. It makes things easier.
Mhm.
It's
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 a solid
very
plan. First time I saw it, I was like, "That's pretty cool."
yeah.
All the things that it does, and I think that there's been so many Medicare agents that are so pigeonholed into zero premium products. When that starts to become less and less popular, you gotta use your brain, like,
Yeah.
think a little bit outside of the box you've been living in to see what other options there are. I had an agent call, and I said, "Don't hesitate." I mean, they are on LIS. This plan might actually be zero premium, but there are sometimes premium-based plans that really provide better health care, and if you total up the premium, let's just say it's $300 a year, they're probably gonna save way more than that over the course of the cost and copays when they're a heavy utilizer.
Yeah. I mean, in some of the counties where I work, there are 2 or 3 really, really excellent plans, that have a premium. In fact, I will tell you, this was my entire marketing strategy when I first got into Medicare Advantage because give back plans were not a thing yet. My entire marketing strategy because I was a final expense agent. I was going out selling final expense.
Mhm.
And Where I work, it's sometimes difficult to qualify to be fully dual eligible. People are making just a little bit too much money in their general cost of doing business. They didn't, my state didn't accept Medicaid expansion and all that kind of stuff. So if you're not making less than about $1,000 a month, you're not getting Medicaid where
And then
I
at
work.
all? Was it like at all?
Yeah. You're not QMB unless you're at $1,000 a month or less.
Let's just take a sidetrack because I know nobody cares about this, but I
Right.
find this interesting and I'm doing this, so I'm going to talk about it. The difference between the amount of people I see on Maryland Medicaid,
Mhm.
or I just wasn't looking, I don't know, in Pennsylvania is significantly different.
Yeah.
Like everybody's QMB.
Yeah.
Far more people are SLMB. Yeah, you run into your FBDEs on occasion, but maybe it's because of the lack of plans that I have to dig into what you are to see what you'll get.
Yeah.
But it really does vary that greatly from state to state on where people fall on that spectrum, right?
Yeah, state to state. Every state is different, right? So if your state's going by the minimums, which Pennsylvania does, the minimums are pretty low. you know, it's a little higher than $1,000 a month, but it's not. It's 1075 ish. I remember $1,000 a month. And you can get SLMB higher than that, but SLMB is not doing a lot of our people very good. There were not a lot of partial duals at the time when I started doing Medicare Advantage plans. They're more common now, but it
Mhm.
used to be like the dual plans. It was QMB, or one of the pluses, or FBDE, and that was it. SLMB, QI, SOL.
So well.
Yeah, I figured continue going with initials. Um, so I would target people who had extra help, because if you're SLMB or QI, you've also got extra help, and get them into plans that looked like they had a $35 or $40 a month premium, but because this person had extra help, they were paying $0 a month, and I would use that as a selling tool. I'd be like, look at this, you're getting a plan that everybody else has to pay like $50 a month for, and because of your situation, we're able to get you a subsidy, and you're going to save $50 a month on that. You don't have to pay that $50 a month. The federal government's going to pay that for you, and you get this plan for $0 a month. And that is, I think, kind of awesome, because you get the same health benefits that the rich people who are paying $50 a month get, and you don't have to pay for them. It's an effective sales tool, and people would jump at that all the time.
I had a sidebar.
Yeah.
I got triple dialed today from a 484 number, and I'm
Oh,
thinking,
nice.
is my dad okay? Like, who is calling? What is this?
Sure.
And I'm on. I just finished up Dynamic Fridays with Adam, and Adam's like, it's probably an insurance agent.
Mhm.
So I answered it.
484, by the way, for everybody who's watching this, that is a southeastern Pennsylvania area code.
Yes, yes, and I answer it. It's an insurance agent. I know their history at Lincoln. I know they kind of danced around, followed Christine L around. I don't know what they're really doing, but they're in client of mine, a human being's home. And I know for a fact she's got $220 a month premium for her and her husband. But she also, last I checked, which I could be wrong, had $200 give back plans.
Mm-hmm.
And for all intents and purposes, she has free insurance.
Yep.
She's paying a lot of money, but she also has free insurance. And I'm saying to this person, Monica, don't you dare mess this up. I don't know if you understand how to look at this. And I guarantee they don't understand how to look at this because it's been a year. But don't you dare mess up this 82-year-old's policy because she's not really paying for it.
Yeah.
But your strategy there at that point in time made a lot of sense.
Yeah. And stuff like that is, I think, going to start making sense again in the future. Like, that's not a thing that like, none of the agents that work with me now, I've never talked to them about this stuff because it's never been necessary. Because by the time I started working with agents trying to help them sell Medicare, like, give back plans were a thing, and rich dental benefits were a thing, but they didn't used to be, right? It used to be like $500 for dental was pretty normal. Like, that was a pretty normal thing. $500 for dental that no dentist in the county would take, right? Like, that was pretty normal. You'd have to drive for an hour to find a dentist that would take it.
Mm-hmm.
That was typical. Medicare Advantage plans used to be not very good, right? Like, really, really not very good.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten a lot better. They're getting a lot worse. Um, Nothing we can do about that. We don't control that side of things.
Yeah. Well, let's talk
Um,
about selling in the context of a just pure Medicare T65 presentation, because
sure.
I see all the time on these forums and these Facebook groups people talking about targeting T65s. And
Mhm.
even I'm like, that's interesting. And I
Yeah,
email
sure.
my lead vendor. I'm like, can I do this? I want to
Mhm.
do this. This looks like fun. But I find
This looks like
that
fun.
if I just mail the Medicare lead, I swear, maybe it's just Maryland. 2 or 3 people every week are T65.
Yeah, of
I
course.
don't need to target them. They find
No,
themselves.
no, you don't need to target T65. T65s will find you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I mean, I could tell you how I would approach a T65 sale.
That's
Just
actually selling. Let's walk through
yeah,
that. That's interesting
like
to people.
so the T65 sale, your competition is not other companies if you're a broker, right? You theoretically have everybody that you need. Your competition is other brokers. Your whole job your competition is not even really other brokers, really. Your competition is people on Facebook that don't know what the hell they're talking about, giving advice, and usually bad advice. Boy, go hang out right around this time of year. Go check out some of the local Facebook groups and watch all the terrible Medicare advice that you see posted. Flat out illegal, wrong, crazy, crazy pants stuff that people talk about as though it is absolutely true. Or my favorite, somebody who's got an extremely niche, unique situation, and then they're like, why is this not for everybody?" They're like,
It's not too
I
affordable.
I stayed on my employer plan because I have a maximum out of pocket of $5 and my employer pays for it 100%. Everybody should stay on their employer plan. Nobody should go on Medicare. Okay, great. Like, it's nice that you work for UPS, but like that's not everybody's situation.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're doing turning 65, establishing your expertise and authority is everything. You are the expert in the room. And a lot of that is not about what you say, because I will tell you, experts do not need to explain every detail of everything. You should not explain every detail of everything.
No.
When somebody asks you what time it is, do not tell them how to build a watch. It is important that you know how, right? You are a watch builder, but you can just give them the watch. Um, Go through a very abbreviated version of Medicare 101 to make sure you are on the same page with them and that they are not believing anything that is not true. Be very confident in how you present things. Things are facts. If they tell you something that is not true, feel free to say, no, that's not how that works. It's okay. They will
That's
respect you for it.
salesmanship. That's salesmanship. There it is again. That's not
Yeah.
enrolling into a zero premium plan. That's selling.
Yeah. If they tell you something that is flat out not true because they will believe things that are not true, you are free to say, no, no, that's not how that works. They'll respect you for it.
Nick, I have these people call sometimes angry at me, and I'm not T65, but like family or clients. And I'm like, either you're going to yell at me, and if that's what you want to do, God bless you, or I'm going to help you. Like
Right.
people just want like to know, are you in charge of the situation or are you going to
Yeah.
be pushed over?
Yeah. The reality is, you are never, in the amount of time that you have with any prospect, you are never going to teach them enough about how Medicare works for them to be able to make an informed decision on their own. You just can't.
You wouldn't have a job. Like you wouldn't exist.
Right. Well, but I mean, but beyond that, like it's not possible. It takes hundreds of hours to be able of working with Medicare to be able to understand Medicare well enough to really reasonably make an informed decision. It is a shame what some of these ship officers are doing because they give bad advice all the time too. Social Security people, Social Security, by the way, not actually allowed to give advice, right? So time somebody's like, "Oh, I'll just call Social Security and find out," like, fucking good luck, right?
They're going
They
to tell me about my ability to have or not have life insurance. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
illegal.
Yeah, they're not allowed to. They'll answer questions yes or no, and they don't know. They don't know the answer. That doesn't matter to them. It's not their job. It is your job. You're licensed. You know. Your job is to make them feel secure. Your job is to make them believe that you know, and your job is to provide definitive, clear, actionable advice.
Hmm. I told the
Actionable advice.
T65 at the end in the early part of the presentation that not taking action really just wasn't an option we had available today because
Yeah.
that would leave you in a position that would be unethical for me to leave you in.
Yeah.
So I gave him the Medicare 101, showed him his card, how he got it. He already had it. I'm like, that's
Great.
outstanding. And then he responded to a food card lead. Well, med subs are never going to respond to this form of marketing. Foolish. Yes,
Absolutely.
they will.
Yeah.
He needed Medicare. That's all he saw on the form. Then I showed him, here's a little bit about what a supplement does. Here's a little bit about an advantage plan. Supplement's going to cost you somewhere around $150 ballpark. I don't know yet. I'm just giving you an overview. Medicare Advantage, 0 to 30, somewhere in that ballpark. Then tell me which one of these you think you might like. I'll walk you through the next step. And if that doesn't work, we'll back up and look at the other one. But not doing something that I literally wrote down here, no is not an option.
Yeah.
And then he picked us up like $150 a month, no networks, no issues. You guys know what it is. But I think a lot of Medicare Advantage agents that are used to enrolling, not selling, in zero premium plans with $300 OTC and $100 givebacks don't even know how to walk through a sub sale when they walk into it.
No. Oh, God.
I didn't at one point. I would just try to flip them into an MA plan.
Most people don't. Most Medicare agents couldn't tell you the difference between the various supplement plans. They would not know the difference between a plan G and a plan N, let alone know like what a plan K or a plan D does. Like they don't know.
High deductible G?
Yeah, high deductible. Like there are some people for whom high deductible G plan makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Let's come down to the southern part of Kent County, Maryland, where you're at 45 minutes from your primary care doctor, sitting with a gentleman with a broken leg going in for surgery later. And he's like, that literally was all that he could afford. A high deductible G was about $50 a month. And a Medicare Advantage plan, none of the doctors took, let alone a specialist that he couldn't get to. Like, I think there's so much fun in Medicare when you understand all the nuances and the sub options available, and you're not just trying to shill out zero premium stuff.
Yeah. And I get it.
You're selling health insurance. Like, let's actually sell it.
Let's sell it. Right. And as an agent, I get it. The learning curve of getting to the point where you just know this stuff is steep. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you're new, just like one or two advantage plans and just roll with those. And I get it. I do.
I get it. Watch our stuff from a year ago. I get it. Yeah.
But the more you know, the better job you can do for your clients. The easier it'll be. Like all of this, everything we talked about, you can do. You watching this. I don't know who you are, but if you're watching this, you can sit down with a Medicare prospect, do a Medicare 101, have them choose whether or not they're an advantage or a supplement person, get through whatever underwriting you might need to get through if you're doing a supplement plan, or if there's no underwriting necessary, you skip that part. Do the entire app and walk out of there. You can do that in less than a half an hour and have them be very happy. Have them have a very good plan. This does not need to be a long, protracted process. They don't want it to be a long and protracted process.
Nobody does.
No. They want to know that that you're going to give them the best advice. The entire opening, doing a Medicare 101, all of that, the whole point of that is so that they know that when you tell them what to do, that you're giving them good advice. That's it. Mm-hmm. So if you remember that that's the goal, your goal is to establish yourself as an expert and then give clear, simple, actionable advice. I mean, you're going to sell so much. You're going to sell so much. It doesn't matter what it used to be. What used to be doesn't exist anymore.
No. Let's take our last 7 minutes and kind of segue this educational and selling conversation into our roots into final expense.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have a lot of experience managing on the Medicare side, some exposure managing on the final expense side. But would you agree or disagree that there's a significant difference on how you look at things in a builder perspective versus a solo personal producer perspective?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like manager, like this is the eternal problem. Managers don't think like employees.
Well, I mean, you have to think more globally versus singularly. Yeah. We were having this debate on the corner bar called Insurance Forums, which might as well just be in Kensington at this point. Like it's literally that same kind of a feel. and I'm arguing with JD, who I swear, for those of you that have ever read it, is actually a nice and polite person to me in public. is not the same person online. So be it. But I just don't think people appreciate the difference between what it takes to look at a product and a carrier and a concept from a mid-level management perspective versus what you want to sling on your own, not worry about anybody but what goes in your own personal account. Like, it's a significant difference, even on the Medicare side, right? Relationships, resources, funding,
It is different. So
logistics.
there is always going to be a difference between what is good for management and what is good for the individual agent, right?
There's a
What
middle
is
road to it, though.
Yeah, of course there should be a middle road. There, one would hope there would be a middle road. You know, ideally you've got management that is looking out for the agent, and ideally you've got agents that see the bigger picture. But there will always be a fundamental difference between management and the individual agents, and that is, I don't know that is an obstacle that is necessarily overcomable.
I think it's just
It is,
America.
yeah, it's an obstacle where you can move the pieces around a little bit, but at the end of the day, everybody is sort of selfishly working in their own best interest. And I think that if you go in with the expectation that everybody is realistically working in their own best interest, because no matter how altruistic you try to be, at the end of the day, this is a job, and if you weren't getting paid, you're not going to do it. And that you can do a very good job of putting other people first, but there will always be a "what's in it for me" moment.
Well, let's look at it too from a slightly different look. I think there's a difference between a new or first year or second year agent's needs and a established veteran or decades long producer's needs.
Sure.
Like selling a small mom and pop fraternal with limited to no advances for a veteran agent with an established base, your discretion. Who cares?
Yeah.
Sell it. You want to get paid as earned at a low comp? Your choice.
Yeah.
Here's the product. Here's the contract. No, fine. But on that same exact token, that new agent who hasn't developed the skin to sell value over price, who needs to go in there, with an easy process to sell, but isn't getting paid quick or at a high enough level or at a fast enough pace, could easily sell themselves out of the business if they weren't set up properly with just simply carrier portfolio.
I would say that the single most important thing for a new final expense agent is being able to get cash flow positive as quickly as possible. Um, Also important on the Medicare side, just way harder to do on the Medicare side. But on the final expense side, the single most important thing is to get cash flow positive as quickly as possible. And when I say as quickly as possible, I do not mean in like 2 or 3 months. I mean in like 2 or 3 days.
Yes, every week. Like, you have to be like that every single week for 2 or 3 years.
Because you need to buy leads
Mhm.
every single week, and you need to spend a not insignificant amount of money on leads every single week. You should be spending like $800 a week or more. But like, you should be spending at least $800 a week as a final expense agent on leads. Every week, week in, week out, no exceptions, no vacations, no time off. Every single week, $800. The first $800 that you make does not belong to you. It belongs to your leads. It doesn't belong to your rent. It doesn't belong to your electricity. It doesn't belong to anything. It belongs to your leads. Your lead bill is your most important bill. It is the first thing that gets paid. And you need to be cash flow positive so that you have $800 next week to be able to pay your lead bill next week and still also pay your rent and everything.
Yeah, I think that is
and
important.
that is the most important thing.
Yeah, and if you're watching this on a Medicare focus and you're out in AEP when what you're doing isn't paying you, you can still sell cash flow products. We did a whole video last year on multiple other cash flow products that you could sell during AEP. Don't get so singularly one-sided focused that you don't think of asking the question, because if you don't ask the question, I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to unwind whatever you wrote into that home because you left the door open for me.
And I will tell you, again, just going back to like benefits are changing. if you're not, especially with the way benefits are changing, if you're not selling people hospital indemnity products, if you're not selling people dental, well, maybe dental is less of a
We'll
big
get
deal,
there.
but
We're
like if you're
probably
not
gonna get
selling
there
hospital
next year.
indemnity and you're not offering cancer, you are, in my view, committing malpractice against every single person who you sell a Medicare Advantage plan to. If you're selling a Medicare Advantage plan, they need to have something to indemnify them against the high out-of-pocket costs of a hospital stay. Because have you taken a look at what hospital costs are looking like on most Advantage plans right now? Have you taken a look at what maximum out of
88.50.
pockets have gone up to in most Advantage plans? I mean, people are going to end up with, $10 or $15,000 a year, and God forbid they go into the hospital in December, right? You go into the hospital in December and you stay in the hospital for 3 weeks in December, and it rolls over in January, and boom, you hit your maximum out of pocket all over again.
Yeah.
Like,
The reality is it's your responsibility to ethically, morally, and professionally show people their options and move their ass to action.
yeah,
Like, do they have to take it? No, but you should show it. Like, just as much as you should offer the accidental death benefit rider. It's an option. If you didn't offer it, that's malfeasance. Do they
yeah,
have to take it? No. But if
no,
they didn't know they had an option to take something that you had to offer, you're not really holding up your end of the bargain.
yeah. It is important. It is important for your client. It is important for you. Like those plans pay you, right? You get
Oh yeah,
paid.
pay
It
for dental
helps.
insurance for God's sake.
Yeah.
Who
Like,
would have
listen,
thought?
man. Yeah. Like I'm fully as earned on dental insurance. I'm making like $70 a month in my in my dental insurance, like $3 per person. But like, hey, yeah, well, do it. Like dental
Stacks
insurance
up.
pays eventually. Like
Yeah,
sign
pays
people
your
up.
Netflix bill.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you guys got something out of today's conversation. Don't be afraid to sell. And if you are afraid to sell and no one's teaching you, ask one of us. Our contact information is available across the social media platform. And I do have one favor to ask. Comment below. We have plenty of subscribers. We get plenty of views on Facebook, plenty of views on YouTube, but we don't get nearly enough comments. If you got anything out of today, if you just want to say hi, if you want to put the period sign in there, I don't care. But if you're watching this right now, I need you to drop us a comment below so the algorithm does us some damn justice. Thanks for
Absolutely.
watching and commenting. Bye now.